All right. So this is a story that's running a little. I mean, with everything that's happening in the media, you would think there'd be enough time to kind of discuss some other things, but this one is a bit interesting. So, according to New York Post, a Yonkers woman says a DNA lab mistake led her to abort her baby, only to find out months later the results were wrong. After getting pregnant, she allegedly took a paternity test through a DNA diagnostic center to confirm her fiance was the father. The lab via Wynn Health Labs in the Bronx claimed another man she briefly she briefly slept with, you mean cheated, was the dad at 99.99% certainty. Facing New York's 24-week abortion deadline, she ended the pregnancy. Oh my God. Okay. However, months later on Valentine's Day, which is ironic, the lab called again. The results were wrong due to an IT error. The man wasn't the father. Now she's suing both the labs and says the mistake cost her her baby and her relationship. Get the fuck out. This is ridiculous. This here, the amount of propaganda in this whole write up thing, they're trying to save her from, like, first of all, she was cheating. And so they're trying to make it sound like she just has some fling. And then also, they're trying to put the abortion ban, which I'm actually surprised. New York has a 24, as liberal as New York is. I'm surprised they have a 24-week abortion ban. That's actually interesting to me. But thoughts, MC?
I've never been on any battles with
Yeah,
child support, so I'm wondering how these L's go in these situations like this.
yeah. But more so, what are your thoughts on the woman getting the wrong lab results and then also really destroying her relationship because she was technically cheating?
Well, she's trying to blame the IT error when the issue is really you was taking meat from more than one man, and you're blaming the IT company for ruining your relationship, not the fact that you
Mhm.
got knocked up by somebody else. So she's dodging accountability. She, technically, she should not be able to sue anyone because she is the one that was in the wrong. She was the one that was deceiving. She was the one that presented false information. If you're not 100% certain who the father is, why? I mean, and she's probably got him going to classes, probably hitting him up for diapers and wipes, etc. So he's already financially invested here. But
Yeah.
all of that goes out the window now because this chick was lying. But she doesn't see it that way. She wants to blame somebody else. That's my thought. She's dodging accountability.
Yeah, you know what's funny about this? So I'm actually controversial, but I'm actually with her about suing the clinic or the DNA people because they royally messed up. Like, your one job is to do a DNA sample and say, hey, who is the father, who is not the father. So I'm okay with her suing because that was their job. They messed up, and that's all the accountability I'm gonna have there. Now, when it comes to what she did, honestly though, was probably getting swept under the rug, and I know a lot of men are probably thinking like, well, he dodged a bullet. Well, she aborted your son. She are your, your first child you're supposed to have with her. And so I don't know how people are okay with, like, this makes a case to why men should have some type of say when it comes if a woman wants to delete her pregnancy. There should be that this is the perfect reason to have that conversation though, because even though she found out that it turned out to be somebody else's kid, or no, it actually turned out to be his kid. He lost out. He should actually be suing her because she deleted his kid. I know there's been no precedent for something like that though, but maybe it's time to start to have that conversation though, because if she did it and thinking that it was somebody else's kid, you lost out on your. I mean, what if you don't have a kid again? Like, I know it's easy to say men can do that, but not too many men are marrying the types of women. So if he wants to just go out and have a baby, he can definitely do that. But if he wants to have a baby with his potential wife, he might not be able to do that. I mean, I don't know why you would even get married now, considering what he went through, as well as the guy that it's funny. In order for her to see who has like the DNA, she has to get DNA from one of the guys. So she either, if she got it from the father or her fiance, then she had to be sneaky behind it. If she got it from the boyfriend or the sneaky link, then he knew about it. Like, this is the stuff that's people don't want to have this conversation when it comes to like, you know, deleting your pregnancy as well as infidelity, because why would you even want to do any of this stuff? This is stuff that kind of, you know, deters people from wanting to get married. And this is before the marriage. So again, he may have dodged somewhat of a bullet though, but you lost your kid in the process. So is that the win? Is that the biggest takeaway though? And why? And she needs to be held accountable for that financially. No
Yeah,
matter
but
what,
she
will take care
won't.
of it.
She won't. You know how this goes, and his heart is probably broken. There's no better feeling than knowing you got one that's on the way. Well, there's very few things that even compare to that type of feeling, and she completely took that away from him. But my question is this: had this not come to light, she would have took that secret to the grave. She would have been
Yeah,
completely happy with not 100% confidence that this
that's
man
another.
is not the father and making a simp out of him.
Yeah,
This
that's
is,
another good
I
point.
Man, the amount of selfishness coming from this chick is astounding. And I believe this is going to happen at some point in the United States. There's going to be mandatory DNA testing for each child that's birthed. It's going to happen at some point. It
Hmm.
has to. And I'm curious to see how those numbers look because I know the statistics have been floating around that Jamaica and Nigeria have the highest cases of paternity fraud. I think it's 1 in 3.
Jeez.
And I'm looking for the article to support it, and I'll circle back to that in a minute. I found one, but it's not a trustworthy site. But I would like to see something like that. I mean, why not? You know, if you're going to put someone on child support and you're going to make life a living hell to them for the next 18 to 22, 23 years, you might as well make sure that everything is legit and in place because right now, taking word of mouth doesn't work anymore. We're way too promiscuous as a society for word of mouth to continue to work.
Well, yeah, not to mention, she was way too comfortable having this conversation though. Like, I understand she wants to have she wants to sue, but this is a statement from her though that she's, you know, she's devastated. She lost her relationship. You lost your relationship. And the amount of publications, because this is from New York Post, but also World Star Hip Hop. Like, since when did they start mincing words for folks that were cheating in their relationships and deleted their baby? Like, that's what I don't understand though. Like, had this been like some ratchet stuff related to like, you know, maybe a rapper or, you know, like some woman doing something else like out of pocket though, they're giving that one a different type of that's having a different type of discussion. But for in this situation though, everybody's just like, well, you know, they're being nice, they're being very kind with their words. But let me pull up the comments here though, because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure people felt the same way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a little accountability here. Yeah, pretty sure that the dudes ended the relationship. Sleep with one man that would have helped. Yeah. See, people are that's the easy spot. That's the easy, you know, position to have to take. But what's not easy is this is a case why men should be involved if a woman wants to decide to delete her baby. I almost think it's like when it comes like when you give up your paternity rights, you got to get both parents to sign off on it. I think when it comes to this type of baby deletion, I think it's the same thing. I know some people are gonna be like, "Well, it's my body, my choice." Yeah, yeah. Look what my body, my choice did. Look, this is, and who knows how often this happens. Like at least she went to the DNA, which is, you know, she was like, well, if I can't be see, and that's the other thing too. That's confirmation that the guy that she had the baby with was a lesser man than the one that was about to marry her. She would keep the
Yeah.
baby. She would keep the baby.
Yeah.
That's
You
actually
know what? I never even thought about that, but you are 100% right. I just
she would.
posted the article, by the way, about the Jamaican paternity fraud. And check this out. If you that article also, I got it from another publication in the UK. The number of men in the UK who are unknowingly raising children that are not theirs is increasing too. So I'm starting to suspect that this is going to become a global epidemic at some point, especially in westernized countries.
Yeah, I feel for the folks that want to still get married out there though, because it's an uphill battle. There are some it's possible you can find your person, but good luck. Because when we sweep stuff under the rug, that's like, you know, in this situation, and not to mention like nobody, I don't, again, people are saying the guy dodged a bullet though, but she obviously was with a lesser man. Had this been like, I mean, Elon's baby or Jeff Bezos' baby, and that was the person they were cheating with, they're keeping the baby. 1,000%, they're keeping the baby. They're not going to be like, well, it's Jeff Bezos' baby, so I gotta go to the clinic. No. They would have kept that baby 1,000%. That's ridiculous, man. That's bad too.
So earlier you proposed that the men have a say so in the deletion process, and the women will fight tooth and nail to keep that. That's one of the one things that they will stand 10 toes down on and fully unify against.
Deleting their
So
kids
yeah,
and the gender pay gap. That's the only two things they fight for.
and I propose something different. I think men should be given something like a waiver of parental rights form. And it kind of makes sense into a business though. There should be some type of legal form that says, look, we're going to do this, but if this happens, I'm out. That's probably the only fair thing to do here, and I hate that I even have to say that out of my mouth, but this is just how far we've fallen as a society when you got to take steps like this.
Yeah. I'm gonna play this because you brought up a good point about the child support, and I think this is the video. Yeah, here we go. Oops.
File a suit affecting the parent-child relationship and get child support ordered, but only after the baby's born.
So how would the law change if this measure becomes the law?
So what this law does is attach parental responsibility all the way back to conception. Now, what I don't know how they're going to do this is how they're going to attach the fatherhood when they don't have the ability to do that until the baby's born. But they're going to
Pause real quick.
Pause indeed. Holy shit. I didn't know that was the case. I thought they were gonna do the what do you call, I don't know what it's called, when they poke you and they get the amniotic sac or whatever that's called. Chat, help me out. Like
So from what I read about this law, it essentially says that you're going to take the woman's word of mouth.
okay. I thought they were gonna do an actual test, but they're just going off of we just read a case where a woman deleted her baby because she thought the DNA was with the lover or whatever, and now we're just going to take the woman's word in Texas. All right, go ahead.
I will say this: since we bought it to Texas, Texas is still one of the, from the male perspective, is one of the friendliest states for child support. There's caps and there's certain things that they put in place, and Florida's probably going to catch up to them pretty soon too. And I think Tennessee's got some things in the works coming down the pipe. But
yeah,
my challenge to the women is, if we really want to repair these male female dynamics, you have to make these relationships more balanced, because right now the scale is leaning heavily to the woman's side, and it needs to get back to being balanced. There needs to be some sort of balance in this thing, especially if things go bad or if you lie and deceive. There has to be some accountability. We're held accountable all the time. Are you? Most men who have custody of their kids don't even put women on child support. So this is a woman-based conversation. So what does balance look like for you women when you think about stuff like this?
MC, I got to call you out on this one. It's not a woman conversation. Women are never going to do anything. And I think most people would do this, honestly. If they had the power, they would do this. Women are never going to go against their best interests, because the amount of people that, first of all, the amount of people that were upset about the woman deleting her baby because she thought it was somebody else's, versus the amount of women that are so in support or against this bill. It's still a bill, so it hasn't become law yet. It has to pass the Senate. There was hardly no outrage. You know where I did see the outrage is on the men's side. And correct me if I'm wrong, though. This is I don't know who this guy is, but these are men talking about these issues. And the governor is, and the House and the Senate comprise of both men and women. So that tells me if the Senate signed off on it, the men and women in the Senate, the people that were voted in the Senate, they signed off on it. And then it's going to go to the House, which is, again, comprised of men and women. They signed off on it. And it's going to go to the governor. And so, and the governor's a man, which is Governor Abbott. So I understand that, you know, women need to take some, or women should have a conversation in this. The fact of the matter is women are not going to have a conversation about this. If anything, they get more money, and then also the state gets a little bit more money. There's a whole conversation about how child support is not working and is well intentioned, but it doesn't work like that. And then also there's some kickbacks that are given to the state that, you know, it's in the state's best interest to change to make sure they start child support a little bit earlier. That said,
so you said a whole lot there, TR, but let me respond to the 3 points that you made. So number one, this is a woman's conversation because they have the power. They're the ones that have to get behind
women
the
don't
door.
have the power.
When it comes to child support, they have the power. I just told you the law is based on their word of mouth. They're not testing this DNA at conception. They're believing whatever the woman tells them. You have power. You shouldn't abuse it. That's number one. Number two, you made a statement that said a woman is not going to push her own interests to the side for the interest of the betterment of the family. Okay, by definition, then she's not a wife. You shouldn't be making her a mother, but goofy ninjas are going to make her a mother anyway if she's attractive enough.
They're all making a mother.
That's all I'm trying to say.
What's your third?
That's all I'm trying to say. It's I was going to use an example of Congress. Congress is always talking about people with too much power, right? But they refuse to put term limits on themselves. So they refuse to give up their power for the betterment of a society. Yeah, so by definition, you shouldn't be leading us. You should put some people in there who should. I look at it the exact same way. Those are just my counterpoints.
Okay, think of it like this. The reason I say the women don't have the power, well, they have a say so. They can definitely impact it and tip the tides. But this reminds me of the whole the whole Roe versus Wade, because people that voted for Trump, now Trump said he wasn't going to do this, and technically he didn't do it. It's the Supreme Court that went ahead and overturned it, but ultimately he gave the power back to the state. So that's what people voted for. And anytime that, you know, somebody would say like, oh, he's going to ban abortion or whatever, and I was like, no, it's up to the state. It's up to the state. The people that you vote in are the ones that decide the state. This tells me that there are not enough men actively involved in their state politics. Honestly, this should have never even made it to the desk of the whoever proposed this. He should lose his job. He should lose his position, because for them to think that look, I say this thing about prosecutors. When you want to get your numbers up, you just go after men. When you want to get your arrest records up, men tend to do the most crime though, but if you want to get your numbers
the most physical crime, not the most crime.
Physical crime. Yeah, good correction. So if you want to get your numbers up, you go after people in these urban communities, and unfortunately they tend to be black men, and that's how black men end up in the system, because of, they're actively going in your community to look for you. I don't know why people don't understand this, but it needs to be said out loud. And so that's the same thing with this. When it comes to putting these additional laws or putting things that's in the balance of like this retroactive child support, that doesn't make sense to me though, because you should have, or instead of why would you push this law through right now? Why is there's no pushback on this law? And the mere fact that it's signed in the Senate and then people still are not talking about it, Texas, y'all cooked. This law, I promise you this law is going to get passed though, because for Governor Abbott, I mean, he's been amazing at a lot of things. I think this will probably be the one criticism I have towards him though, but I'm not a Texas resident. So y'all got to figure it out on your own. Y'all just, and this is why I tell the women that are upset about if they live in a state that's red and they have, a smaller window that they can go to the clinic, you should have voted. You should have been active in your politics. You should have voted the right people in there. I mean, even for Ohio, they have like kind of a liberal take on it, because the voters were active and they said they want this type of policy when it comes to baby deletions. Right. This is the same thing with the child support. If you have a problem with this, you should be not making videos. You should be reaching out to your congressional leaders and telling them, do not put this through, or you're going to be you're going to lose your seat in the next election cycle. I don't see anybody doing that. I see a lot of
Yeah.
people being like, "Hey, it is what it is," and marry before you carry, and like the one guy was going to marry the chick, and he was doing it right, and he almost got caught up. So this is on men. Men, the reason why it's easy to put child support on you, and the reason why you get railroaded in child support and alimony, because you don't fight for anything. We could have changed child support a long time ago. We could have changed alimony laws a long time ago. Men don't fight for it. Men just think it's like, well, it's their problem. They got to deal with it. No, it's everybody's problem. It's every men's problem, because they'll have to deal with it at some point, or someone will have to go through it.
Yeah, and this is more so people generally speaking don't care about local elections because we're talking about a state-based law, right? We
Yeah.
know in local elections people don't show up and they don't vote, but they're typically the main ones that's complaining about something. So you kind of make yourself a joke when you don't participate in making the system better that you're complaining about.
Oh,
So no surprise there.
you,
I'm gonna wrap a bow on it with this, and then I'll let you land the plane.
yeah.
Child support was created for men who are not taking care of their business. It wasn't created as a tool for you to leverage and extort the
Hold
guy
up.
who didn't want to stay with you.
Which men? Which generation of men?
What, that aren't showing up to the polls? All of them.
No. Which
Across
generation?
every demographic.
Which generation of men caused the child support that we have today?
Oh man, that's a
Yeah,
long,
you
complicated
know who it is. The
conversation.
boomers. It was the
Yeah,
boomers.
I was going to say it was the boomers because before that, the family unit was more intact.
Yeah, it was the boomers. Boomers got us in this situation, and because of they didn't take care of their kids, we ended up getting the worst version of child support we have today.
Yeah. And our generation, millennials, are the most active parents on the father's side. And that's been proven by the CDC and NBC. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
One more thing I just thought of when it came, there was a meme going around that Donald Trump said whoever pays the child support will be the one who gets to claim the kid on their taxes. And I saw so many men jumping for joy for that. I had to look it up though. I was like, I don't remember Trump saying something like this, but there may be some truth or whatever. And I was like, I couldn't find anything on it, so I'll just let it live. But everyone else was like, yeah, he's finally we're going to be excited. This is a reason why we voted for Trump. Blah blah blah. I'm like, that's a reason, and you're an idiot. But secondly, if you want that to be the case, just make it a law. Men are so used to like taking these L's or just getting dumped on by the system. They don't ever think they can change the laws themselves. We vote these people in. We can change these laws. And the funny thing, this retroactive child support is actually 7 states have this law. And, California is one of them, but several of these states have this law in place anyways. So that just tells me men have already said, hey, it is what it is. So whenever men want to complain about child support, I look at like, okay, who did you guys vote for? And when this became a bill, or actually, I mean, forget it. Even if it's on the books, you can still have your person, your Congress, your governor. You can still have your governor repeal the bill or put up a different law in place. You can definitely do that. A lot of these elected officials do not do it though, because they know they'll get the backlash from the women. But there's more men. Well, I want to say there's more men in the world, but I mean, depending on the state, though, it might be ran by women. But honestly, I think it's more of a penalty tax that men have on each other, though, because they're like, well, you're not taking care of your kid, so you should have to pay child support or something. And it's to some degree, I understand that, though, but it's like, at what point is this too much? Are they pushing for too much? And also, child support doesn't work the way like people think it does. Like the mom gets some of the money, and the state gets other money, and then also they nickel and dime the fathers with additional fees in that whole process. But again,
it's a racket, and we haven't even gotten to the attorneys that's making bank off of all of this family pain.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too. Yeah, the family attorneys and everything. Yeah, it's one big racket, but there needs to be a Doge for the child support system, but they got other problems. And honestly, though, this isn't only a big deal for men that are being careless and they don't want to take care of their they don't want to be active in their state's politics, though. So yeah, to your point, if people aren't voting locally, this is what you get and this is what you deserve. And again, that's why I tell the women that live in red states and they don't like the abortion laws.
Shout out to all the people that's contributing to the attorneys' Maybach vehicles and 3-acre houses, mansions, man. Y'all making them rich.
Facts.
Man,
Getting
y'all make me
paid.
rich.
All right. Next topic.